Hey, you want to paint? Come on, let's paint. Hello everybody, it's me Mel, and today we are going to be painting Make a Wish. I really like this one. It's super simple, so if you are new to painting, it's a great place to start. We're really just dabbing a lot today, and you can be really free and just sort of express yourself with it. You can mix up the colors however you like. You can mix up the number of wishes that you paint. So this painting is a really simple, easy way for you to just get into painting, or if you're even more of a hobbyist or more experienced artist, it's a great way to practice shading and try some new techniques. So let's get going. I'll show you what we're working with today. So everyone's got a canvas as usual. I'm using canvas paper because I don't want 50 canvases rolling around my studio, so I do paper, but I sent you all canvas in your kits. And I've got a plastic palette. If you don't have one and you want one, they're available in my shop, but you can use any old mismatched Tupperware lid. If it doesn't have a mate, use it as a palette. I prefer plastic to paper as a palette surface. I know in the studios we give you paper plates because really they're the easiest to deal with, but at home you'll find you go through far less paint if you use a plastic palette. So anyway, I've got that. With that today we've got yellow, blue, red. I've got 2 puddles of white, one for the background and one for my flowers because I'm messy. And then I've got some black. I've got 2 brushes today. So we've got the flat 1/2 inch that I like to use for the background, and then just a small round tip there. Oh, I've already got paint on my hands. Small round tip, and we'll use that for all the little dots and things that we're going to do today. A cup of water, clean water, cool water to clean your brushes, and I just have an old wash rag that I reuse all the time. Paper towel works great. So let's talk about our painting before we get rolling. The background, I don't know if you can see, has lots of different shades of gray. Not quite 50, but there's plenty of them in there. And what we're going to do is mix together a gray, but when you do, I want you to swirl it so that you've got gray, you've got black, you've got white, and then we're going to use a little bit of water to thin it down and almost use a wash effect over our canvas. And when we do, you'll see that you get 50 shades of gray in your background, and it'll give it a lot of texture, some movement, a little bit of depth, instead of it just being real flat and single toned. So let's mix up some gray. I'm going to start with my big brush, and all I really need is a scoop about the size of an olive, and I'm just going to place that onto my mixing area. And then without cleaning my brush, I'm just going to take the very corner of it, just the very corner, and get the tiniest dot of black and swirl that into my white. And when I've reached this stage, let's see if the camera, there we go, the camera's having a hard time picking that up with all the light. But at that stage, we want to go in and just dip our brush right into the water and start with long vertical strokes, top to bottom. And every time you go to pick up more paint, take a little bit of a dip in the water, grab some more paint, and keep going, up and down. Now, if you want to put a different pattern, you want to do swirls or go horizontally, do it. I'm going to do up and down because I like the vertical movement and height that it gives this piece. But remember, my instructions are really more like guidance. Think of it like a buffet. Take what you want, leave what you don't. You know, salt and pepper to taste. It's all about what you want to do with your piece. Now I'm going to do a few quick horizontal streaks just to smooth that paint out. But anytime I do that, I'm going to come back with these long up and down strokes to just sweep it out, because those brush strokes will add some texture to my painting. So I'm just being mindful of that. Another little dip, picking up some more water, some more paint, up and down. Now, your paint should feel like it's gliding across your canvas. If you're getting a lot of resistance or scratching, try picking up a little more paint. If it looks like you're frosting a cake, try spreading that out and using a little less paint. And you'll feel that glide, and when it gets there, you'll know it. You'll know you're there, you'll just feel it moving. And this is very thin, very transparent. Remember, it's almost a wash. Starting to run out. To go back and make a little bit more. So again, just going to take another scoop about the size of an olive of white, and then a tiny bit of black, and swirl that in. And it doesn't have to be exactly the same. Remember, we've got all those shades of gray in here, so it's really a very forgiving technique for a background. You can just end up with whatever you end up with and it'll look fantastic. Alright, keep moving my way through. Now, I've gotten most of the top section done. It's a little naked down here, so I'm going to keep going, and we're just going to keep going through here. Ooh, now look, that got a little dark, and that's okay, because what I can do is just sort of spread that out. And the more I sweep, the more it will sort of calm down. And this background's a lot darker anyway. But getting that same shade of gray twice is really tricky. So that's why I like all this long vertical stuff. Now down here, again, I just have this small section to fill in. So I'm cheating a little bit. I'm going horizontally. But then I come back through with that long sweep, up and down. Little bits of water will help stretch that paint out. Move that right across your canvas, up and down. There we go. Now this technique, if you're painting with kids, this technique works great with a sponge brush. So you don't have to give up your good brushes. For kids, if you're looking for art projects for them to do, teach them this background, 2 colors. White and any other color. Black, red, blue, whatever you got. And these long sweeps. And it looks like wood grain, it looks like light, it looks like a lot of stuff. But it's a really fun technique to fill in a background. Got one little naked spot there on my canvas. Alright, now, at this point, the more I mess with it, the more likely it is that I'm going to start losing some of those shades of gray and everything's going to turn sort of monochromatic, so I'm going to let it be. And this is a really good point to pull out your blow dryer and dry it off with that. If you've got a heat gun, that works great too, just don't get it too close because the paint will sizzle. I've done that a few times. Or you can just let it air dry, take a little break, walk the dog, have another glass of wine, and come back here when it's dry and we'll start working on those flowers. Okay, so our background should be dry to the touch. You should be able to move your hand around it without getting any paint on you, and then you'll be ready to start making your flowers. Now before we begin, I'm going to show you how to make the pink, the blue, the purple, and the orange. But you've got primary colors, so you can make green, you could make anything you want, and you can make as many as you like or as few as you like, and just balance out the colors however you choose. But I'm going to show you how to mix up all the colors, and then I'll start in the order in which we paint. Words are hard. Then I'm going to start by showing you how to paint them from the back forward, or the back forward, so that they have some dimension in there. Alright, let's get going. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of wipe off this area of my palette. You don't need to do that if you've got enough room, but I don't, so I'm just going to wipe that off. And then I'm going to start by making some purple, and I'm going to use the big brush for that, just to build the base of the flowers and mix the colors. So when I'm cleaning my brush, I like to sweep the bottom of my cup, or you can just give it a little gentle bounce. And then you can drag those bristles right across the edge like you're scraping the frosting spatula. but I know you like the frosting spatula. We all do. There's no judgment here. All right, nice and clean. Give it a little press into your paper towel to dry it off. And I'm going to mix some pink first. So a little scoop of white. I don't need a lot. It's probably about the size of a lima bean. And then, tiny corner of the brush, grab a little bit of red and mix that in. And I leave a little swirl in there. That's all good stuff, you can see. It's not a very big spot, a little bit of swirl. Then I'm going to give my brush a rinse. Again, a little sweep or swish on the bottom of your cup. Drag those bristles. Grab another little scoop, same size, about the size of a lima bean. Move that over. Grab a little bit of blue. Swirl that in. Now if you want your blue darker, add a little bit more. I'm going with the medium tone because I can add blue or red to either one, and I can add white to lighten it up. So this is going to be sort of my base color. We're not going to make the purple yet. We'll do our purple with a little bit of pink and a little bit of our red. And now I'm just going to mix up a little bit of orange. So clean brush. This time I'm only going to take about a pea-sized amount of white, and I'm going to take a pea-sized amount of yellow and a tiny dab of red, and swirl those together. So now I have some orange. So I've got my pink, my blue, and my orange, and I'll make my purple with a little bit of pink and blue. That's actually going to be a darker shade to start out. So one more. Clean brush, dab of red, dab of blue. And if you need to, you can get a tiny bit of white, depends on how dark you want your purple. And with purple, you can add more red or more blue to adjust the color the way that you want it. So we've got 4 piles: purple, blue, pink, and orange. Okay, so while I've got purple on my brush, if you need to, pause me, get yourself mixed up, come on back, I'll be here. Okay, I'm going to show you how we're going to do these purple flowers. They're the tallest and in the back, so I start with those. And you can figure out where you want to put them. This canvas is much smaller than this one, but you can see if I divide it in half, those purple flowers are going to be in the top half. And they're on opposite sides. So just pick a spot somewhere in the top half, put your paintbrush down, and bend it so that it flattens out like a fan. Just like that. Let me zoom in on this shot. Hold on, please. Let's see if I can do it. Ooh, look at there, I did. That's fantastic. Okay, smash, hold it in place, and twirl. It doesn't need to be a perfect circle. If you need to come back around, you can. It doesn't need to be a perfect circle because we're going to mess up those edges. Ooh, that one got away from me. It's going to get made a little bit bigger. There we go. So there's one, and then I'm just going to pick another spot over here for the second one, up toward that top left corner, and again, push down, hold your brush in place, and then twirl the handle, leaving that brush in place, and it will fan out into a pretty darn good circle for you. I don't know what I just said. That was a whole mix-up of words. And again, you can see here, the more you mess with the circle, the bigger it's going to get. But I've got those 2. Now I'm just going to scrape off any excess paint here. Just sort of push down on those bristles and twirl. Give this guy a good little rinse. So we're going to work on this purple flower a little more before we move on to the others. I want to add some of that detail so that if I put another flower over part of it, it'll give some dimension. Okay, so that's rinsed out and ready to go. Let me bring this up so you can see what I'm talking about. Now we have our base here, right? Circle. And what we want to do is start adding some shadow and some light to the piece. And then those little bits that are going to be blown away. So what I'm going to do is grab my smaller brush. It's clean, little dip in the water just to get those bristles wet. And I'm going to grab just a tiny bit of white, just a little tiny dab. And starting on, we're going to pick our light side, right? So on this painting, it's all to my left. The left side of each one is going to be the brightest. I think it's reversed in the camera. You tell me. So I'm going to come on over. Let me bring this a little bit closer so you can see. There we go. So on this side, I'm just going to start tapping. I'm using a technique called stippling. And I want the lightest and brightest to be somewhere between 8 o'clock and noon. I could even come down as far as 7. You're going to need to keep dipping into your white paint, so always make sure you're dipping in the edge, and that way you don't mess up the whole puddle. And I'm just going to dab all the way around that edge, that perimeter. I want it to get soft and fluffy textured. And I'm going to start to just work my way over to the right edge. It's okay if my white starts to blend out, I can add more. But by working my way over and then just tapping around that edge, tap, 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 lots of little tiny taps, you can meditate. Just tap your way around. All the way, it's going to give it lots of fuzzy texture. And it's okay if your circle gets a little funky. Just keep tap, tap, tapping. There we go. Now, this got a little bit light here, so I'm going to pick up just not cleaning my brush, just picking up a little bit more of that darker purple. And I'm just going to start adding little bits from about 6 to 3, because that's where the darkest part is, from about 6 to about 3. And once I'm happy with that, I'm going to just start letting these things fly. We're going to use different shades for all of it. Now, if you're super type A, this is the part where you have to take a little bit of a sip. Just take a sip, it'll be okay, I promise. Because this part, the more chaotic it is, the more natural and organic it will appear. So just let them get loose and messy. Go out in whatever direction you want them to. I know they should all be going one direction, like if you're blowing on a wish or the wind is blowing, but I think I was feeling a little chaotic the day I created this painting, so I just had a little fun with it, you know? And that's one thing I really try to do when I design my paintings, is leave ways for them to be forgiving, especially if you're a new painter. You're not going to have fun if you're hung up on trying to do everything exactly the way it looks online. That defeats the purpose of art. I mean, you can go buy art, you can buy this from me and it would look exactly the same. But making your own puts a little piece of you into it, personalizes the piece. You know, what if you don't like the way mine looks? You have a better idea and a way to make it better. I totally get it. I'm all about it. Didn't Picasso say, bad artists copy, good artists steal? Steal an idea and make it your own. Change it up. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. I can always come back in and add more. And one thing I'm also going to do right now is just put in a stem. And for the stem, I'm just going to take a drag right down. Not even trying to make that line perfect. Just a nice light touch so that it stays fairly thin. And remember, the more you mess with it, the thicker it's going to get, and you can't put it on a diet, so go easy. Okay, so there's one. Oh, look at me. I keep making dots. It's like a mandala. You just get such satisfaction from that little tap, tap, tap. But I got to move over here. So Again, same process. We're going to do this for each flower. Little bit of white. Start on that left edge, tapping your way around. Letting that edge get a little bit fuzzy. Those brightest spots are going to be over here on the left. And as we work our way around to the right, it just starts to fade to that side that's a little bit more of a shadow. And here toward the middle, like, I get tired of making those tiny taps, so I just kind of smack it with the fat side of the brush. And that's okay, because it'll give me that same sort of textured technique that I'm looking for. And again, can go back to a little bit of that original color from about 3 to 6, tapping in a curve. That's going to give you a little bit more shadow there. Right there on that right side. And then we can come in with a little more white on the left. And tap our way toward that center, where it just fades out a little bit. Add a little bit more brightness up here. I like to do that tap right along the curve where the light is, because it gives it a little bit more of that roundness. And that looks a little bright, so I'm just going to cheat and use my finger to just sort of tap that out. And we can keep playing with these as long as we like. The whole point is to just make sure that you have that texture. The texture is everything in this painting. Little tippy taps. You want to bring some of these lighter shades of purple over the ones we already did. A little bit of white. And I kind of go back and forth a little bit. These are mostly going to be dark over here. Brighter over here on this side, on the left. Just tippity tap, tap, tap. Oh, I gotta step back, because when I'm this close, everything is funky. Sometimes you gotta stand up and step back a little bit. And that'll give you some better perspective. I'm even gonna stand up, because sometimes that helps. Move your position. There we go. Yeah, I'm happier with that. Alright, we're going to keep going over here. So if you want, you can always pause me and come back once you've completed this step. And I'll show you how to do this same technique, but with the pink. I'm just going to keep tappity tapping. Can hang out. Who knows? I might say something ridiculous. I usually do. Let's get back in my seat. Okay. Don't feel like every single tap needs to be the exact same shape. It's not going to be. You are not a machine. They're all going to get a little mixed up, and that's okay. Remember, when you're this close to the canvas, it's like the scary side of the mirror. Everything looks bigger and scarier than it is. So when you're starting to wonder, what have I created? Stand up, step back at some distance between you and the piece, and you'll be able to better see what you're doing. Your eyes will focus, and you'll get a much better perspective on what your actual shape looks like. Okay, so let's see. I think I need just a tiny touch. Add a little white business in here. A few more taps. I reserve a little step at the end where I can come back in and add more brightness or take it out where I need to. So I'm not going to try to make it perfect now. Okay, Now I'm just going to come in, put in that stem. And there we go. So we've got 2 purple ones. Remember, they are not perfect. We're going to come back in and add a little more detail to them with some pink. And then once we get all of our wishes on, we can always come in and mix it up a little. So when you're ready, come on back. I'm going to get started with the pink. Okay, so let's look at where our pinks are. We've got one here, and then another one there. So we're going to just come in and create those smash and twirl circles, and then tappity tap tap like we've been doing. So I'm going to take a little bit of my pink mix, pick a spot here, bend that brush, let it flex, hold it still in one spot, and twirl. There we go. A little bigger if we need to. This is a really light pink. I'm going to put another one down. Oh, you can't see that. Let me widen you out a little. Hold, please. Haha, look at there. I'm going to put you right down here in the bottom right corner. And spin around. Now, for this one, I'm going to do things just a little bit different. Because this is such a light shade of pink that I made, I'm going to come in with some red right away. So I've got my small brush rinsed out, grabbed a little dab of red, and remember, between 3 and 6, and I'm just tapping. And then I'm going to start to tap my way in around that perimeter, make it fuzzy. And tap. Let it have some of that texture. It should have dark spots. It should have light spots. Our only goal is to make sure it's a little bit darker between 3 and 6 and a little bit lighter between 12 and 9. Maybe 12 and 8. See how that just smoothed out, gave it that round shape and that fuzzy edge. And then I can take some of that pink, even double dip in some of that red, so I've got a little of both on there, and come along and start tapping. Tapping in my little bits that are floating up and away. Some can even tap up. Well, careful, don't go into that purple yet if it's still wet. I just did. We'll come back, get those in a minute, let it dry. You're gonna end up with a mess like me. These can blow off in any direction you like, just as before. It's also going to need a stem. Put that other guy in while I'm at it. And just keep tapping. Now they start to look a lot cooler once they've got other wishes to be up against or near. When we did the purple ones all by themselves, it was just a little funky, a little freaky, like, what is she doing? But now in context, it really starts to make more sense. And remember, you want multiple shades, light, dark, give it some depth. Keeping that light over here on the left between about 9 and noon, 9 and 12. Go a little lower if you want to make that curve a little bit bigger. Sometimes I get a little carried away. Gets a little bright. To come in, just tap a little more onto it. Some of this bright and white out here. You gotta hit it and quit it, you guys. If you keep tapping, everything's gonna blend into the same color. So you gotta keep moving along. Just keep tapping. Okay. It's good to keep going. Keep on keeping on. A little bit more bright. A little bit more red here because I lost some of my shadow. You don't have to do every single step that I'm doing. You just have to stick to the same guiding sort of principles. Shadow below, light above. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this one. I'm gonna move along before I mess it up. Come down here, same thing. I'm gonna start off with that red. That darker tone between 3 and 6. Oh, I got a lot on there. Wipe some of that off. And just tap. Fuzz out the edge. And let that ombre or gradient start working its way over. And remember, you don't have to use just the tiny tip of the brush. You can see I'm sort of using that flat edge and smashing it, that longer side of the brush. You might get different shapes. Find one you like and work with it. Because as it pushes down and pulls up, it pulls away some of the paint, and that's what gives you texture. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. Add just a tiny bit more dark down here. That bottom section. Remember, when your circle gets funky, it's going to stay funky, or it's just going to get huge. And if you get an edge that's a little weird, just put all your dots and little wishes that are blowing off there. Let them blow right off. Try not to create patterns. Just let them keep moving. And if you get a little bored or you get interrupted and you need to take a break, you can always come back. Oh, this is, oh, look at, I got a little crazy here, these guys. Good thing I'm going to put another flower there, help break that up. Okay. So, do I have enough dark? I'm pretty happy with that. Now I just want to come in and add a little bit more light. Sometimes your brush gets really loaded up with one color, so just wipe it off on your paper towel. Just keep tapping. Now I get a little quiet there. I run out of things to say. Just happily tapping here. I'll have to find some music to insert during these little quiet parts. Or you can always play your own. Okay, so one thing I am going to do is come back up here, and this is dried a little bit. So before I get done with my pink, I'm just going to let a few pink float off up above in front of that purple one. A few darker shades, a few lighter shades. But not too much fuss. Just like that. Ba-dum ba-dum. Okay, so let's finish these up. And when you're done, come on back and we'll do the orange ones. Okay, so let's do some orange. We made our orange with some yellow and red and a little bit of white. You want to just pick a nice medium tone that you're happy with. We're going to use that big brush, same as before. Pick a spot and smash it. So I'm going to come over here, a little to the left of my pink, find my spot, and smash it, and twirl it. Bring that edge out and around. There we go. And I'm going to put one more here. And this section got really weird. Sort of covers up where I went absolutely nuts with all those little pink dots. So now it's like I just hid the mess under my bed and nobody knows. Okay. So to make our dots, we want to make a little bit more of a darker orange. So I've cleaned my small brush, grabbed a little bit of red, and I've got this section of orange. I'm just putting a little more red in one section of it. And as with the others, I'm just going to come along and tap that in between 3 and 6 and work my way out and around to the other side. Rough up that edge. Tap, 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 tap. It's okay to let them overlap. They can touch. There we go. And now where I want to add some brightness, I can take a little more yellow and add it to the other side of the orange. And bring that in as my brightness. We can add some white to this, and we will. But I just want to show you how to get those 3 tones. We've got our light, because we added some yellow. We've got our medium, which is the base we started with. And then we added a little red to that base to get that side section. And now we'll use these same tones, these same 3, and start adding your little bits that are blowing away. If your pink here is still wet, leave it alone. Don't fuss with it. You'll end up with a mess. Just let it work its way out. If you find yourself creating patterns, take a sip. A little drink will help, I promise. Okay. As few or as many as you like. And let's not forget, you guys need some stems. Whoop. Put a little water in my paint there. That'll help make it nice and smooth. There we go. And don't forget you, little dude. And at this point, if you have sort of figured out how to work against your paint drying, you can work your way back and forth. You just want to move faster than your paint dries. Because remember, you won't get these little textured blends. You'll end up with just polka dots. Little dots all over. You won't get the blend. And we want that blend. It gives us our texture and that fluff. Oh, more yellow here. There, I'm not going to lie, I got a little lazy and just grabbed a big blob and shoved it on there. Thought, yeah, I'll live dangerously. We'll see what happens. It worked out. Proceed with caution. Again, my finger's a great tool. Sometimes I just use that, tap a little out. Okay. Don't forget your little bits that are blowing away down here. I'm much faster than you. It's my job to be faster than you. I'm a professional. Remember, hit the pause button when you need to. I'll still be here when you get back. Now, for this final step on these yellow guys, I'm adding orange. I'm adding just a tiny bit of white into my yellow mix. And I can bring that along and just use tiny bits. Tap that in where I want those little bright spots to be. Just tapping. That's what we're doing. A lot of tapping. That's why this is a great painting for kids, if they have the patience to tap, because it's an easy technique that they can be really successful with. So it doesn't have to be these sort of flowers. You could give them a page of a coloring book and some paint and have them use this technique on it. Make them feel very accomplished. All right, now if you're brave, you can take a little bit of your orange and yellow and let a few of your little bits just pop up sort of in front of your red ones there. Just little bits. Ooh, that guy got a little crazy there. That's okay. I'll just tap that a little. And I'm going to bring this forward so you can see. They're really pretty messy. But the whole idea is just to put that light on one side and the dark on the other. And as long as we're consistent, we're going to be in good shape. All right, final one is going to be our blue. And I feel like my blue's a little light. So I'm going to pick up a little, add it right now. When you're ready, we're going to smash and twirl our blue. And I'm going to put it a little bit higher up on the canvas than this bottom right set, but below this top left set. And smash and twirl, our final one. Alright, once I've got that smashed and twirled, you know the drill. Let's give her a little stem. Boop boop. And then I'm just going to grab some dark blue. Come along that right side between 3 and 6. Make sure your brush is clean or you might get a little green like I just did. But I'm going to just keep on tapping, not going to worry about it. Work my way up and around. Give it that texture. Ooh, boy, that really got crazy in there. And on this left side, I'm using the lighter stuff. Nothing's changed, same routine we've been using. Lighter stuff between 8 or 9 and 12, and the darkest stuff between 3 and 6. I don't know if you can see the green I got in there. Now, if this happens to you, you've got a couple of options. The best one I would suggest is just stop and blow dry it and then come back and do it again with a clean brush so that you don't end up in the same pickle. But I'm just going to power through here. I think I got it solved. Tapping in my blue for the curve, the dark blue. Hit it and quit it, hit it and quit it. Okay, and now I'm going to start picking up that white. Coming along that left side. Creating that little curve so that it looks round. Well, I mean, it's already a circle, but we're trying to give it some shape. Keep tapping, almost done. And then I'm going to double dip between some of my base mix and some dark blue. Actually, I think I can get more dark blue. And just start moving my little bits here. Putting my dots everywhere. Everywhere and anywhere I want them to go. Whew. It's very relaxing. Are you relaxed? I'm very relaxed. There we go. This is also the sort of painting that, like, if you wanted, you could really take your time. You could do all sorts of imagery with this. It doesn't just have to be wishes. I think a butterfly would look really cool using this technique, sort of dissolving away. Well, that's a little creepy, but you know what I mean. Maybe in a tree, a field of flowers. It's just a fun, easy technique. And I think that's really important when you're painting, is especially if you're new, try things that are relatively simple. You don't have to go for the most complicated thing first. It's building, you're building skill and muscle memory. It's like when you go start to work out, you don't do the most difficult exercises first, you work your way up. Little bits at a time. Okay. So here we go. At this point, it's really up to you to decide what you want to do. Do you want to add a little bit more white? Do you need a little more white somewhere? Do you need little bits more darkness or depth? It's entirely up to you. I am pretty happy with my piece. So now is a good time to sign it. I realized I haven't been doing that in my videos. So I'm going to do that today. All right, let me show you how to do a signature. Again, you don't have to rush. Take your time. I've got my small brush and a little bit of black paint that I've added just a little water to, so it's a little bit inky. And I'm just going to sign my name right there. And she's done. That's it. Look, even got paint left over I can do something else with. So I hope you're having fun with this. I hope you come back and paint something else with me. There's all sorts of options for paint kits and guided videos on my website, and you can even pick up some supplies or materials if you need them. But here it is. Make a wish. Almost done. One final thing. We gotta peel the tape off. That's the best part of a painting. Because I use canvas paper, I tape it to a board, and then I'm able to just tape it right on, and I come in and I peel the paint off. Or excuse me, the tape off. Oh, there we go. Ooh. I'm going to lose my easel. Oh! And last one. Alright. That's it, you guys. Thanks for painting with me today. And I'll see you again really soon. Be well. Take care.